7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
You'll never have the sacred stone.
Oh, this you crazy mother.
This is Eat and Drink with Ali Hassan and Marco Timpano, the podcast where back of house Ali and front of house Marco talk food and drink. Heads up, these two spent decades in restaurants, so some mature content and language is bound to come up. Get ready for Eat and Drink. Forks up.
All right. Hey, what a day. What a day. It's almost the holiday season. I'm Ali Hassan, and this is Marco Timpano.
Thank you. What do you mean by it's almost the holiday season?
It's the holiday season.
It's the holiday season.
Yeah, it is.
I think
it depends. When does it start for you?
December 1st.
Okay.
Some people it starts after Remembrance Day.
Yeah, November 12th it starts for some people.
No. I think that's too early. When does it start for you?
December 25th.
Really? That's when it starts?
Isn't that weird? Wouldn't that be weird
if
that was the case?
No.
Finally, the holidays. Go shopping. What? The stores are closed? This is an outrage.
Well, listen.
No, it started. I don't know why I said it's almost the holiday season. It's we're right into it. You are wearing a very festive red and white checkered shirt. And I don't know. I'm going to assume you did this as a courtesy to me, but you left one of your buttons open close to your belly button, and I've been staring at that for the last little while.
I left two open. It's all belly all the time. Oh, shit.
Should have taken a picture and posted that, to be quite honest. No? Anyway, that was a special. Santa came early for me, personally, on that one. That was beautiful to look at that.
Well, thank you.
I know the inside of your belly button, my friend.
Speaking of posting photos and getting off my belly topic.
Yes. Deflect.
For those of you who haven't started following our Instagram, follow it, Podcast Eat Drink. And what we're going to do is something I dread, which is take photos of great meals that we have and we're going to post it.
I don't think it's that you dread. It's that you don't want to be that guy.
I just don't like it. I'm like, I would rather, and my in-laws, every time we go to a restaurant, when the food comes, that's when they ask the waiter to take our picture. And I'm like, our food is perfect temperature now.
Yeah.
And then it's 2 cameras and an iPhone, and the server doesn't know what they're doing because my mother.
And then they gotta take the time to look at the picture and go, no, I don't like how my eyes look in this. Can you take it again?
Right.
And meanwhile, you're just like, my steak.
You're assuming that they do it on a phone. My mother-in-law has an actual camera, an old 4.5 pixel camera.
She's the one.
And it's one of those cameras where you press it, but you don't know if a picture has been taken because it shuts off. So when all that is said and done, if you look at the photos that are taken, it's just me with an anxious look on my face because it's like I just want to eat.
Your eyes looking at the table.
It's like, there's food. Like, can we do this after we eat?
Is that important? Do they want the food in the picture or not even? It's just that's when it occurs to them.
Or I feel like they want I'm going to guess, I should ask my wife this, they want the food in the picture.
Oh, maybe. Anyway, this is a nice passive-aggressive way to get them to stop if they listen and subscribe to our podcast.
They won't listen. They should. But thank you for listening. Follow our Instagram, and you will see photos. I had a finger lime. Have you had a finger lime?
Yeah, sure. They're amazing.
They're incredible.
You know, when you have stuff like that, you're like, what else am I missing out on? What else has the lime and the citrus world not been telling me about? That's how I felt the first time I had a blood orange. I'm like, what?
How has this existed? Bless you.
Thank you.
How has this existed? Bless you twice. Third time you get kicked out. I'm glad we're in a really small studio. And he's like just spreading germs.
It's not germs as much as it's the
sneeze particles.
No, the beverage that you created is so unbelievably aromatic. It's
Let's get to it now.
Inside my nose already. You don't want to talk about our Lord and Savior? We had some stuff to.
We'll get back to
that.
it.
Okay.
Listen, drinking and talking is the best way. Totally. All right. So cheers to you.
Cheers to you.
I'm gonna let you drink it so that he can see if it worked out well. I made mulled wine because we're talking about holiday season. And does it work?
Pretty good.
Does it work?
That's pretty good.
I feel like you're so gracious, you would like it even if it wasn't.
I feel like you have me mistaken for somebody else.
Oh, that's not bad.
Yeah,
that is good.
See?
Oh, yeah, I like it.
Remember you made me something once, and I was like, "This is
not for me."
Yeah. No. I'll tell you.
Okay.
We gotta have that honesty back and forth here.
So mulled wine, some places call it glug in Scandinavia.
Yeah.
In Italian, it's a vin brûlé. In French, it's vin chaud. It seems like every country.
First of all, vin chaud.
Vin chaud. Okay, thank you.
Vin chaud. What in the world? Jeez, so cultured in the Italian ways, and then with the French, just urinates on the language.
That's what I do best.
Yeah. Okay.
But this is a holiday drink that you can find throughout the world. So you'll find it from North America, South America, head over to Europe. It's everywhere. In Quebec, they call it caribou, and they add maple syrup to it.
Right.
Have you ever had that in Quebec?
I have.
The cocktail maple syrup?
Of course.
It's
fantastic.
fantastic.
It's fantastic. In Pakistan, this is called You're Going to Jail.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. They don't have this in Pakistan.
No?
They don't have it all over the world. Well, the heavily Muslim countries probably don't have a fortified wine drink.
You're right. I'm going to correct that. It's found in a lot of places in the world because I shouldn't generalize as a white man in North America, assuming that the rest of the world bows to whatever culturally things we do here.
So
right?
ethnocentric.
I can
so ethnocentric.
I do my best not to be. When it comes to alcohol and food, I may very well be. But how do you make this wonderful drink?
I mean, I was just about to ask you that myself.
So here's my theory.
Also, I just want to say when I came into your place, it wasn't clear as to whether you were making mulled wine or if it was potpourri on the stove because your house smelled fantastic. So if people are like, should I make this or not, there's that secondary benefit, which I got when I came in. And my nose is even a little bit blocked, but it was just a great smell in the house.
There you go. There you go. So thank you for that. Let me thank you first. But,
thank you for that.
Well, there you go. Thank you, our listener, for that. But, all right, there's a lot of ways to make mulled wine, and there's a lot of recipes online. And I call bullshit on a lot of those recipes because here's what mulled wine is. Mulled wine.
Here we go. Ethnocentric version of what it it's. Okay, what is it? Tell us.
I'm feeling a little self-conscious that I'm going to be ethnocentric. Mulled wine is the ugly cousin of sangria. So if you were to look at it like Frozen, the movie Frozen, you got sangria, which is a summer drink, which is a Spanish wine drink that involves fruit, fruit juices. It's colorful. It's
brandy.
Playful. Right? Yeah, you can throw brandy in it for sure. I think it does have brandy in it, actually. Then you've got mulled wine. Let's call it the elegant ugly cousin of sangria.
We just got graduated. Just got a promotion in the last 30 seconds.
There's something elegant about it being a winter drink, in my opinion.
Okay.
Not necessarily how you drink it or what you need to wear when you drink it. But it's essentially the same sort of concept. You have wine, and you're adding some fruit, in this case oranges, to it, and spices. And alcohol as well. Sugar as well, which you add to sangria. So they're similar in a certain sort of wine fashion, in that their base is wine, red wine. My theory is don't spend money on a lot. Is it the clove that's making?
I'm not sure.
Okay,
I'm not sure.
There's a lot of spices in here.
Yeah,
but you're a person who
could
can
it
handle.
Could it be the dust in this room?
Is there dust? I sweep the room.
Yeah, no, I'm sure.
I'm turning into my mother now, but. Basically, with mulled wine, I feel like whatever wine you have left over or whatever cheap bottle of wine you have, use it for mulled wine, use it for sangria. Because
there's a joke there that every white woman I know makes. Leftover wine, what's that? Never heard of it, right? But anyway, I digress.
Fair enough. So who's being ethnocentric now?
Yeah, of course. Just talking about the white ladies. Shout out to the white ladies I've always known who love wine.
So the wine being the base, it gets infused with so many other things that it doesn't, in my opinion, it doesn't really matter what wine you use. I would say red is about the only thing that you have to really stick to, although some countries do make it with white wine.
Okay.
But the research I've done is it's not as popular. The white version is not as popular. And the other thing with mulled wine is add the spices you want. Don't feel like you have to add the spices that every website says. Because you're just mulling the wine. You want to add a bit of sugar to it, or maple syrup, or honey, some sweetener. You want to add some booze to it. Traditionally, it calls for brandy. But I've read that you can add rum to it. And I would add a dark rum to this because it has some sweetness. The molasses in the rum is going to make this mulled wine really lovely. Now, cinnamon is always one of the classic ingredients in a mulled wine. Star anise.
Yeah.
Clove.
Yeah. And you did a nice thing where you took a wedge of an orange and you spiked it with some cloves, kind of giving us an idea, some foreshadowing, if you will, of what this drink's going to have in it. I like that presentation.
A lot of people put the orange right into the glass.
Okay.
That's not my style. I let you, the drinker, decide if you want to chuck that in.
So generous. So kind.
I added cardamom.
Okay, that's not how it's pronounced.
Cardamom.
Cardamom.
Mum?
Like your mom. Yeah, cardamom.
Cardamom.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, I feel.
You know what? I'm going to leave here right now. If you're not getting cardamom, what am I even doing?
I
here right
added
now?
it for you.
Okay, it's delicious.
I've seen some recipes that have it,
Yeah.
and I love cardamom. Did I get it right?
Yes.
I love cardamom in everything. And so I was like, oh man, I'm throwing some of this in too, right? I was going to add peppercorns because I thought peppercorns would really take this up a notch, but I was like, I'm not going to because what if I ruin it with peppercorns? So I will try a batch on my own with peppercorn. But you can add whatever spice or eliminate whatever spice you want, and then a glug or two of brandy.
Is there, in your research online, using ginger anywhere? Is
Yes,
anybody
ginger.
here? Okay. all
I didn't
right.
have fresh ginger.
Okay. Buddy, this is like a cup of chai, but with wine. That's
Yeah.
basically what's happening here.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable.
I've even read that some people will throw tea in there. So certain spiced
Some
teas.
people are lunatics. What are you going to do?
Listen, I don't have a problem with that. You do what you need to do with your mulled wine, is how I feel.
I would say, I'm not going to say it. I'm going to ask it. Would you suggest that people use maybe a cheaper wine? Since you could use any wine anyway, does it make sense to use one of your more expensive?
No, don't use your expensive
This is
wine.
what I'm
Do
saying.
not use
Yeah.
your expensive wine.
Right.
Enjoy your expensive wine. Bottom line is use whatever wine you want. In my house, I'm going to use an inexpensive wine.
Would you even go so far as to say if somebody goes, man, I really don't like this wine, and you say, I don't either, you say, okay, let's save it for some mulling. We'll mull this goddamn
Yeah.
thing. We'll mull it until
You
it tastes
might
good.
still not like it
Okay.
because it depends on what you don't like.
I
So,
just feel like this is such a crowd pleaser.
The thing is, once you start adding sugar, fruit,
This
and
is it.
spices, it masks a lot of sins. You add the booze. If you still don't like it, add a bit more brandy to it.
Sure.
And then you'll have a lovely fortified drink.
Yeah.
What's nice about this too is it's a wonderful holiday drink because it gives your house an aroma. It's essentially not too expensive. Although I went to buy cloves today because I didn't have cloves. Cloves are expensive.
Yeah, it depends where you go. But yeah, I mean, you can buy like a massive 1 kilogram bag of them too for,
What am I going to do with the one kilogram?
You're going to start experimenting, okay? You're going to start running a clove factory out of your home. You're going to sell cloves at a profit to your neighbors.
A little jar cost me $7.
Oh, that's too much.
I know.
Oh, come on.
I know.
What, quelle horreur.
Where do you go to buy cloves is the question I propose.
You go to an Indian grocer. You go to an
Okay.
Indian grocer and you buy a large bag, and it's definitely less than $10.
I love an Indian grocer because you can get the spices that are so expensive in traditional or mass grocery stores. You get them at the price you want to pay.
Yeah.
No, it's
Sounds
serious.
like if anyone's doing an ad for their Indian grocery store, that audition, you just nailed it.
Yeah.
You pay the price you want to pay. Here at Ram's grocery store, you don't pay what we want you to pay. You pay what you want to pay. Hey, you did it.
Cardamom is expensive too if you buy it.
It can be.
I bought it at Costco because I was like, I'm not spending what
Of course.
my neighborhood grocery store was charging.
Right,
I'm like,
right,
I'm
right.
buying a vat of it, and I don't care if I use it. I just like having it in the house.
Yeah. White people rip you off. Brown people save you money. I think this is what we're saying. Yes?
I
Okay,
think that's
all
the conclusion I've come to. Enjoy your mulled
right.
wine,
And
folks.
once it's mulled, wine tastes great. I think this is another thing we can say.
All right, so that's the mulled wine section of our program today. Before we go on to the food, I want to mention that one, go to our Instagram account. We're going to be taking pictures. We should have taken a picture of the mulled wine that we both just finished.
I'm going to take a picture of
You know what?
finished
Take it of the orange so people know what you mean.
with the
And the
spiked.
last little bit. I don't know if you.
That's
have a
not
good
bad.
shot there.
And finger model. Finger
finger
model got
model,
his
yeah.
fingers in there, so that's perfect. That's a little something for everybody in that shot. Some citrus, some alcohol, and your fingers.
And for anyone who
picture.
is listening to this show as their first show, I am also a hand model.
Yeah, not a finger model.
I had
That's-
2
I
hand
think-
auditions, which I did not book. The client decided to go without using a hand model. Good
Oh,
luck.
okay, so they
Yeah.
didn't go with a new hand person. There's not like a new hand guy in town taking your business.
There's no such thing.
There's no. Oh, look at this cockiness! Oh my God, Marco!
No. They-
Hand
maybe-
model extraordinaire.
Perhaps they did. So, before we go to our next section, if you're enjoying this program,
I am. Oh, you don't mean me. You're talking to the listener at this
no,
point.
I mean you too.
I think we're all enjoying this program. Come on.
You wouldn't be listening here at the 14-minute mark if you didn't enjoy this program.
That's right.
But if you are, please rate and review our podcast. on iTunes and give us a 5-star rating. If you're going to give us less, go listen to another show.
Yeah, jump off a cliff.
Yeah.
Right? Get it.
No,
Beat it.
we don't want you to do that. But
Figuratively speaking.
Figuratively speaking, you're right.
Now, literally speaking, if we can leave the figurative and enter the literal, Jesus is causing problems for us.
Well,
That's not the right way to say it.
That's not
the right way to say it.
That's not going to give us 5 stars. For sure, that's not going to.
Well, it seems that there's a possibility that some people may happen upon us in the wrong sort of expecting something and get something else. For those of you...
If you love Jesus, leave us 5 stars. If you don't love Jesus, leave us 5 stars.
That's also good.
Okay.
Jesus would want you to leave us 5 stars. That's the summary of that. But there's actually a podcast that has a subtitle.
I think it's their subtitle is Eat and Drink.
Right.
And they're referring to the body and blood of Christ.
Body and blood of Christ, which we don't really...
We're not going to cover that.
We don't cover that.
We're not going to rate wafers at different Catholic churches in the world.
Once in a while, I take a sip of a drink that Marco's made, and I go, Jesus, that is good. But that's pretty much as religious as we get.
So what's happened is this religious podcast that has a subtitle Eat and Drink, which, listen... If that's your thing, cool.
Absolutely.
Right? We're not.
Absolutely.
But they're higher up on the list because they have higher ratings. They've been around for a while. So our listeners, please help us.
Christ has also been around for a while too, so he's got a bit of a head start on us.
What is it, like 2,000 years now? 2020
we'll
years?
catch up.
Something
but
like
you
that.
know what? Food came before Christ did. So we, in that respect, food and drink, we just got to get our name out.
But Christ also dealt in the culinary world when he, made the loaves and fishes divide and all that kind of stuff. It's very fascinating. Maybe we'll have an expert.
Sure.
Religious expert talk about food on our show.
That would be interesting.
Because in the new year, we're going to have some really special dedicated episode where we're going to have guests who are experts or people who are doing things in the culinary world or the cocktail world that we want to feature on our podcast. Yeah. So if you're one of those people, send us an email.
Absolutely. And actually, if I'm not mistaken, Jesus was the first person to make shawarma.
Really?
Of course not, really, Marco. Jesus, of course not, Marco.
Listen, I only went to
Catholic. First of all, I love acting like that, but like a clown. But I also love saying, if I'm not mistaken, and then saying completely something mistaken. And then people go, but that's not true. Like, I said, if I'm not mistaken.
You cover all your sins. Right? You wash away your sins with that.
Right that is not. I don't know about the connection of Jesus and shawarma, but if somebody does. Please, write in. We want this. We want to hear about this.
We'll find a religious expert that will talk about not just the Bible and food, but other religious texts and food.
Yeah, I'm genuinely interested. Despite all this, whatever you want to call it, backhanded jokes and all this kind of stuff, the history of food, whether it has to do with religion or culture, however it comes into play, I'm always fascinated by how things come to be and what their history is, what their origins are. So, yeah, absolutely, reach out.
So look out for those shows. As well, in the new year, we'll talk about this in an upcoming episode as well, but we're going to do mini episodes.
Do you want to take some time to burp out loud here, Marco? It feels like you're holding something in. Marco's basically had his fist in front of his mouth for 10 seconds, and he's trying to speak around his fist. Hey, man, maybe should I take over for a while you do something with your...
Talk about our mini episodes when we're going to air them.
Mini episodes are now going to air. This is a very hilarious moment between Marco and I. Marco goes, okay, we're going to air the mini episodes, the 1st, the 15th, and the 30th. 3 episodes a month of each month. And I said, Marco, that's great. Except that right after the 30th is the 1st. So why don't we just do the 1st and 15th? And he's like, yeah, I was just thinking we would have 3 mini episodes. And then I said, how about 10, 20, 30? And he said, too complicated. Somehow 10, 20, 30 is more complicated to this man than 1, 15, 30. It was a great moment for me to watch the inner workings of the mind of Marco Timpano. What's going on up there?
There's something not elegant
it's a special place.
about
the
10,
inelegance.
20, 30. But there's something really poetic about...
We just chugged mulled wine at 10 a.m. and we're talking about elegance in numbers?
Then you're wondering why I'm burping. Why do we drink so early in the morning? All right, we spent enough time in this segment. Let's get to our next.
I'm excited for this. So this is a Marco takeover, by the way, listeners. Marco's doing both the food and the drink in this podcast. I've allowed it. I've okayed it. I greenlit this thing. I don't feel ill at ease about this at all.
You're going to do a chai episode one day, and I'm going to sit back.
Exactly, and we're going to have like a chai creme brulee. We're going to have a chai food thing of some kind. Anyway, don't worry about that. But the point is, you are bringing us some stuff that's very, native to Italian culture and people, and so you should talk about this more than I should. And also, if there's something that I've disliked historically, it's this food.
Really? This is great. Okay,
what a garbage pail you're bringing here to this show.
This makes me happy and breaks my heart in the same way. Of course,
that's why earlier you were like, I hope you'll be honest, buddy. The honesty is coming. In fact, so what Marco has is panettone.
You got it.
And I would like to guess what panettone means in Italian. You always give us the meaning. Let me take a crack at it.
Stop snapping in front of the microphone.
What about out here in the far corner? How many times have I done that? Have I done that? No.
This is
I'm all jazzed up today.
In this episode, you've done it twice, but it becomes.
He gets me wasted at 10 a.m. and then tells me not to snap my fingers. Can you imagine working with a tyrannical dictator like this? I pray that none of your lives are like this.
It's jazz hour here in the studio, snapping away.
Okay, panettone. Pan, I'm going to say bread.
Yes.
Right. From pan in Spanish, pan in French. Tone, dry ass.
No.
Okay, so the second guess, long living.
No.
Tone from tuna. Tuna in bread.
That would be tonno, and there's no tuna in this bread.
So close.
All right, I present to you.
Yes, it's your turn.
No.
It's your turn to give us the real information. If I'm not mistaken, it's tuna in bread.
No, it's not tuna.
I'm not mistaken.
You're 100% mistaken. It's a sweet, if you're not familiar with panettone, it's a sweet Italian Christmas bread.
That lasts for 7 years on shelves for some reason that I would like to understand.
That's a great question. That's a great comment and question, and slightly offensive. But let's get to panettone. So with Italian anything, there's always a story, there's always a legend, there's always a history, there's always conflicting facts. So there's many different reasons why it got its name. I would tend to agree that it must come from the word pane, which means bread, panettone. So some of the research I've done, a.k.a. gone to Wikipedia.
Yeah.
Panetto means a little shortbread.
Also, everybody donate $3 to Wikipedia. It's the holiday season. They need it. Okay, all right.
There you go. Why 3?
That's what they ask for.
Oh, 3?
Well, they say if everybody who read Wikipedia gave us $3, we would last for a long time.
I see.
But very few people give. Would you consider giving 10, 15, 20?
Oh,
so I give
okay.
15.
Right. Back to panettone.
Yes.
So panetto means a little sweet bread. No, sorry. Now I got that wrong. Now you messed me up here.
I messed you up, huh?
Panetto.
I messed you up
Panetto
after
means
all the
little,
help that I've given you here?
Little sweet bread. Once you put tone on the bottom of it, it makes it bigger. So basically you're saying big bread, big sweet bread, right? Now, there's a story, or legend has it, that, let me just refer to my notes. In the 15th century, Ludvigo il Moro, the Duke of Milan, was having a big feast. And his cook was making this big feast and burnt the dessert. And he's like, oh shit, I burnt the dessert. What am I going to do? The Duke has all these people over. And his kitchen boy said, why don't you serve the sweet bread that you made for yourself, right? Now, panettone is not anything, decadent. It's very simplistic in certain ways. So it would have been a very simple sweetbread that he made for himself. And he's like, oh man, okay, I'll do it because I have no other choice. So he served it. And the Duke and his friends loved the panettone that was served. And the Duke asked him, what is this dessert? And he said, l'el pan di Toni. In other words, it's the bread of Tony.
Even though his name was Ludwig.
No, Ludwig was he was saying as reference to himself.
His name was Tony,
right?
Okay.
Although I don't know if the kitchen boy's name was Tony. It's not really clear. But either the kitchen boy or the cook
I
was
love
named
that
Tony.
it could be if you don't like it, it's Panettone.
It's
and you can
Panettone.
kill that kid right there. If you like it,
It's
it's
my
whatever, Giuseppe. And so in the end.
Little Panettone.
Yeah.
So there you go. And
But
so-
this is alleged.
This is a legend.
Okay.
So we don't know.
Alleged
There was certainly
legend.
a Duke of Milan in the 15th century named Ludovico, and the recipe is an older recipe. So there you go. So I'm gonna do what. So panettone for me is very special because every year around Christmas time, this is what we would get and give.
I know.
As Italians, right? And only in the last, let's say, 5 to 7 years has it been much more prevalent in non-Italian circles. So I've seen it. People talk about it. You see it on Martha Stewart. People are like, "Oh, panettone."
And I'm slagging it off, but I have made French toast with panettone. But I made that because I didn't like the way it tasted on its own. I was like, what are we going to do? We're going to put this in a little egg batter, and it was quite good.
So panettone, it comes in a. Generally speaking, if it's an Italian panettone from Italy, it's going to come in a box. So I haven't removed it from the box.
This is happening live. This is happening right now.
You can describe what the box looks like.
Well, I want to describe you. You
Yeah.
look like a child at Christmas opening up a gift right now. Isn't that nice? So right away, I see that appeal of panettone, to rip through a box to get to something. This is not just like a square box. This looks like a
bell.
like a bell.
Yeah.
It looks like a bell, exactly. So you
Now-
look at this bell box.
One of the beautiful things about panettone is, as a kid, you don't appreciate it as much as when you grow up, right? So, what I love about panettone,
It looks like a massive muffin, by the way. It looks like a massive blueberry muffin on steroids, wrapped in a bag that was in a bell-shaped box.
Maybe
Just to
take a
give
pic-
people-
maybe take a
Hey,
picture of
Maybe
this.
take a picture. We have the technology. We have the technology in front of us. Let's use it.
I'll take it out of the wrapper too.
Oh my God! Look at this.
Oh, that's crazy.
Oh man, something just happened on my phone.
It's like Christmas crazy.
Oh,
See,
my
you
God.
you slag the panettone.
My
and the-
phone just restarting. Okay, you know what? I'll do it. I'll take
I'll
it.
give you
But
mine. I'll give
but
you
also, what's the opposite of a shout out? Fuck off to Apple right now for doing this to me.
You know, Amanda was having problems with her phone.
Well, it's because it's an older iPhone. It's iPhone 7, and somehow that's the most.
So I'll take it out. You can take the picture of the panettone out.
Okay,
of the
well, let me
package.
just take one picture with the packaging. Just like this. Perfect. Again, the hand model is there.
And that's the panettone.
Okay, so
Are you getting me in the picture? Because I really don't want to be in the picture.
You don't want to be in the picture? 'Cause
Not
I want
really.
to show it in comparison to your head, Marco.
Okay.
It's bigger than Marco's head. Oh my God, that's
It's
great.
not meant to be a muffin. It's a bread.
Of course, I'm talking about the visual. I'm just trying to help people. Look, you tell me that doesn't look like a massive blueberry muffin right now? You tell me it doesn't.
All right, that's going to get posted.
Okay.
So it's a long process to make panettone. You've got to cure the dough like a sourdough bread. When it's going to be acidic, it's got a proof, and it proofs for many hours. And in order for it not to fall, when they're curing it once it's been cooked, they hang it upside down. Did you know that?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, they hang it upside down so it retains its cupola type shape or muffin top type shape.
Now you're going to reference
No,
some
just so you
muffin?
understand
I
what
was
I'm
a
talking
jerk.
about.
Okay, all
Okay.
right. It smells fantastic.
Yeah.
I want to say that. Okay.
Now, the other thing about panettone, because it needs to proof for many hours, it is a bread that can withstand days and days and days. When it's sealed in the package, it
years
has...
and years.
No, never years and years. It does dry out. So if you don't eat panettone or you don't seal it once you've cut into it, it's going to dry out and you're going to have dry panettone. Now, for me, there's something beautiful about it being an ancient recipe, a very old recipe. It has only a few ingredients inside the traditional panettone. And a lot of people have problems with the fact that it has raisins and candied fruit, candied orange.
And does it always? Is that a criteria?
That's the traditional way. Because
Okay.
think about it, back in the 15th century, these were the sweets that you would add. Not chocolate and creams and things that you find in more modern panettone, but raisins, candied orange. These were sweeteners. These were like little treats that you would find in your desserts.
Tell me how much of a purist are you? Somebody shows up with panettone with chocolate. Do you have to, out of the side of your mouth, go, that's not real panettone? Do you have to do that? Do you have to be an insufferable jerk about it? Or?
A little bit. Here's my thing. This to me is panettone. This is panettone. This is beauty. This is classic. This has been around for years. When I was a kid, I did not like the candied fruit. Now, as an adult, I'm like,
everybody's coming around.
I can enjoy this.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people, as you know, who have problems with raisins in their food.
Yep.
Those people drive me nuts because they're so used to the over-sweetened food that is given to them. Sugar. The minute they have a sweet, dried fruit, to them it's no longer sweet, but rather a mushy thing in their mouth, and they find it disagreeable.
I know that, having made lots of food that comes from the Middle East and having, obviously Pakistani and Indian food, like people have dishes with raisins in them, rice dishes where that offends them. Once I started making a lot of Moroccan food, which you find these like sort of apricots, you have like these Turkish apricots in these big tagines, so chicken and apricots, or you have currants in a couscous. It just transformed me, and I no longer had a negative attitude about it. But I would say about 10 years ago, I was like, what are raisins doing in this rice dish? But here, they should definitely be here. This is a sweet bread. For
a lot of people, Italians of my generation will be like, I don't like the traditional panettone because it has the candied fruit and the raisins. Give me the one that's filled with chocolate or crema. And I'm like, stop.
Oh, crema.
Yeah, you can get panettone that has like a custardy kind of cream inside.
Oh, hello. Okay.
Oh, see, now things are changing.
You didn't give all the information at the beginning.
This is a traditional panettone.
Yeah. And are you enjoying it?
I love it.
Okay.
Okay, you say it's dry. Look how soft and moist
it is. It's very soft.
It's soft and moist. Feel free to feel it. It's spongy. Ali's not going to be eating it because we started a podcast where he decided to do a 30-day... We're starting a food podcast, and he's like, I'm decided to restrict my diet of many foods.
A, you didn't need to share that. B, I have... Okay, you want to... Here, we're sharing. Are we sharing? I have... My father had eczema on his shins. Okay. For some reason, I have eczema on my shins. Genetic. And as soon as I stop eating gluten, the eczema goes away, and I don't look like a dog in heat scratching myself. And if I have like a lot of gluten... I also get eczema in my armpits. Like, it's very bad news. Okay. And now, eczema-free
this has not
for
made my
35 days.
Better.
Has it not? That's weird. I thought this was really going to be like, this tastes even better. Eczema-free. Anyway, you don't want an itchy guy in the studio. So,
no,
I'm trying not to eat gluten.
No.
And look,
I tease.
It smells great, and this honestly, I'm not going to. This feels like it was made after 2015.
What do you mean?
It's fresh. It's fresh for a panettone, right? It's only 3 years old at most.
Panettone is not supposed to be dried and crumbly and whatnot. But if you don't recover this, it is going to get dried up. It's going to feel like that. But if you have panettone that gets dry, like you said, make French toast with it. And you're not going to have a better French toast than this brioche-like or this sweet bread. Panettone.
But are there eggs in here? Because it reminds me, texture-wise, of the challah bread. It reminds me of the Jewish egg bread.
I'm going to say yes.
I mean, there's a box with ingredients behind you. I mean, we could also...
All right. Enriched wheat flour, sultana raisins, sugar, butter, candied orange peels.
Yes.
Natural yeast, egg yolks.
Egg yolks. There it is. Okay.
And salt.
Who knows his eggs? Who knows his eggs? This guy. This guy knows his eggs. So that's why I think if you're ever looking for a great French toast, challah bread is probably the best. But if you like raisins and you like candied fruit, this is number one right here as far as French toast goes. And I've had that before, and I made it. Again, it was circumstances dictated because it was so dry and crumbly that we make it this way.
Who gave it to you? And are you still friends with
a
them?
non-Italian.
Okay. So someone wanted to get rid of the one they got?
Yeah, I don't even know if it was like... I have to be honest, I don't think it was like, here, I brought you panettone. It was like, I don't know what to do with this. I'm not eating this. Do you want... I think it was kind of like a throwaway... Like somebody re-gifted it, but even told me they were re-gifting. Okay. And as a proud chef, I was like, I'll find something to do with this. Like, eat it. I ate one bite. I was like, this is garbage.
Maybe you're also eating it wrong. So panettone, if you eat it on its own and you're not used to its flavors, it might not work for you. But if you have this with a café au lait or a coffee, and you dip this in your coffee, it's going to be the most wonderful sponge in the world, in that it's going to soak up half your cup.
Of course.
And you're going to have this wet, crazy, messy sweetbread coffee in your mouth.
At the risk of angering you, how do you feel about if somebody spreads a Nutella or a peanut butter or something like that on their panettone.
Okay, I mean, at that point, if you're doing that, just go buy a chocolate panettone. But if you're going to spread something on your panettone, do what you want. But
permission to speak freely, Marco. How do you really feel? I see you're holding back. What is it? What happened?
I don't know. At that point, just if you have to spread peanut butter Nutella on your panettone in order for you to eat it, just go and get a sweetbread and do that and eat something else. Because at that point, you're killing. Like, just think how many hours it takes to make this wonderful sweetbread. The reason I made mulled wine is mulled wine goes really well with it.
Yeah.
Moscato goes well with it. They even have something called crema di mascarpone, which is eggs, candied fruit, amaretto mixed up.
Yeah.
If you don't have the mascarpone, you can do a zabaglione with it.
Yeah.
Which is
both cheeses, very, very soft cheeses, right?
Well,
but
no.
the zabaglione is not a cheese. Sorry, it's almost
Right.
like a texture of a hollandaise sauce, but a little bit thicker.
Yeah, so it's egg yolks, sugar, and sweet wine.
Yeah.
Marsala wine and whatnot. And you'll find it in certain restaurants on dessert.
Yeah.
They'll put it with fruit and whatnot. But exactly what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a bit rich if you're going to do that. But for me, coffee and panettone, there's nothing finer. That's my whole thing. My dissertation on panettone. I could tell you about the two bakers in Milan who had fights about it, but you can read it. Nobody wants to hear that.
If anybody is looking for a TED Talk presenter on panettone, I think you found the man right here. There was a wonderful dissertation.
Thank you.
And you proved yourself also to be A, knowledgeable, and B, quite stoic in the face of hecklers, unnamed hecklers. We won't say who was heckling you, but there was a little bit of challenging and abuse you faced, and you did it all with class.
This is panettone. Panettone is from Milan. You, my friend, would probably like Pandoro.
Oh, okay.
Which is from Verona. And it is simply a tall, sweet bread, no raisins, no candied fruit, and they dust it with icing sugar to represent the Alps.
Okay.
It's taller and longer, and if you cut it on its bias, I think that's it, it'll look star-shaped.
Okay.
So, look out for Pandoro.
Okay.
I prefer panettone, but I'll eat a Pandoro.
If I'm going to make the French toast, I'm buying panettone,
Okay.
to be perfectly honest with you. I think that would be great. Although I could also eat it fresh with the coffee, as you say, is the way to...
Do you like fruitcake, traditional British fruitcake?
I like West Indian fruitcake.
Oh.
There's a lot of rum in it.
Okay.
And it's dark. It's
Right.
like, they call it black cake.
Okay.
So it is black, sometimes so black, you're like... Where does the flour begin and the dark fruits end? Like it's all just so dark. That is quite delicious.
See, because a lot of people tend to shit-talk fruitcake.
Who are these people? Show yourselves.
Now,
No, I'm
that
joking,
is
of
me
course.
with panettone.
Yeah, I
so
know.
there you go.
Yeah.
So there you go. All right, it's time for our next segment. And I guess I get my blindfold out.
Well, this is the thing. I mean, you've had your time. You talked about your wine. You talked about your panettone.
Yep.
Okay, you had your bread and wine time. It's time to put something in your mouth.
All right.
Okay.
What's in Marco's mouth? That's right. What's in Marco's mouth? It's nothing dirty. Will he guess it? Will he mess it? Let's find out. What's in Marco's mouth?
Okay. All right. I've got my blindfold completely on.
Blindfold
this
is
blindfold's really, I can't see
It's a better
anything.
blindfold?
Well, it's kind of giving me stars, so you know it's a tight one that I can't see
Okay.
anything.
Yeah, I can see the blood you cut off on the side of your head.
man.
I'm happy because the last one had some weird stains that I had to look at when I was looking at you.
It was
You remember
makeup
that?
from my wife. right?
Allegedly, it was makeup. Yes. Now, I want you. I can literally not say a thing
Okay.
about this, or I'll give it away.
Okay.
So I
and
can't say
get,
one thing.
I get 3 shots at
yeah.
it.
Now,
Okay.
first is no smelling yet. Just
Okay.
taste it.
Okay.
Okay. Just taste it first.
Shall I open my mouth?
Yeah,
Okay.
you shall.
Well, let me know when you're ready.
Okay.
Okay.
I just feel like it might be hot.
Oh, shit. You're going to burn my mouth now?
maybe
Are you?
not. Yeah. Here. Sorry.
Okay, we got 2 things going on here. We've got a grain and a protein. It's Asian in flavor. I want to see Chinese. Like a rice, like a stir-fry rice. Like a stir-fry rice with either pork or beef. And it's got some... It's quite delicious. It's like a... Okay. I taste some some fall vegetables in there too. Like there's a flavor of carrot and peas, perhaps. Can I have another bite of this? Okay.
Yes, you're ready? Okay, and this time if you want to smell it.
Okay, so put it in my
give
hand.
you some of that.
Or are you not?
The hand is maybe not...
How do I smell it then? Are you going to just tell me when to smell?
Put the spoon under your mouth, and then you're going to be able to smell it. But just give me a second here.
Okay, I'm just smelling nothing right now.
Okay, here you go. Here you go. Smell that. Smell that. It's under your nose.
Okay. I don't smell.
Oh, well, good for you. Okay,
okay.
now here. There you go.
It's nothing unusual or like it's something that I would have. It's not something like sumac where it's like on its own. It's a bit of an exotic sort of spice. The rice itself is a long grain wild rice. It's a wild rice. Wild rice. No, I didn't taste protein in that one.
Okay, one last bite for you. One last bite.
Okay, fuck. Okay, here we go.
Let me...
Why would he think I could smell it? Is the question ringing through my head right now.
Okay, open up. Here you are.
Okay. It's beef in wild rice. Beef with wild rice. And I'm going to say hearty fall vegetables are in that. Okay, can I take my blindfold off?
Take your blindfold off
what is
and look at your failure. Okay, this is a chicken biryani. Listen, I literally couldn't say anything about it. It has star anise. It has cardamom. It has cloves in it. It has all the stuff we already ate today. I was like, that's why I cannot say one thing. And that's why I say if you smell it, you might be able to smell these things. This literally had a piece of star anise that I took out of it.
So I was like wrong on all fronts.
All counts. Not a wild rice. It's long grain. You got long grain. It's a
but that's
basmati rice or basmati rice.
Oh.
There's chicken, not beef or pork, and it's there's no hearty fall vegetables.
It's really good.
It's really good. There's a little bit of the saffron there and the coloring made by my aunt Asma. Shout out to Asma Mahmood. What a great homemade biryani. Yeah.
So what makes a biryani?
So biryani, classically, there's something called dum biryani. And dum means to be cooked in its own sort of steam.
Okay.
So what they do, I love this presentation. It's in a pot. Mm-hmm. To really keep the steam in, they take dough that they would normally use for naan or some other bread, and they wrap it around the cover of the pot so it does not escape. Now that bread
like
also
a pot
cooks,
pie type
pot
thing.
pie type of thing,
right.
And then it cooks in there. At least for the last 20 minutes to hour, it'll cook in there. Some people will cook it in two separate things and mix it together. That often people are like, "This is blasphemy," because that's not biryani. That's a stir-fried chicken, right, or whatever your protein is, but that's a stir-fried rice. It should be all in the same pot. First, the chicken is made with all the spices, then the rice is added to it, then it can be layered, and
so the flavors are just phenomenal.
It is, and I don't think you're fully appreciating how much thought I put into this thing, because yes. This was made by somebody else, but I had it in my freezer, and I was like, this is the one. You know why? Because it has a lot of the spices mulled wine has. Right. And like Panettone, it often has raisins on top, and people get all like, and I was about to say it, and then I just said raisins.
But there was no raisins in this
There's
one?
not.
Okay,
there's not. My aunt doesn't do that because there's those people who are like, what the hell is this?
But would your aunt want to do that? But those people...
She might, you know. But by that time, once it's cooked like that, it's not like you're tasting like it's like just a little bit of sweetness that's added there, and almonds sometimes in there.
People have to get over their raisin phobia.
Raisinists
are the worst because I love a traditional butter tart, and a traditional butter tart has raisins.
Does
in
it? I did not know that.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, because it's an old dessert from, and I think it was a British Canadian dessert or something that was made for the Queen or something like that. And so raisins were prized as an item that you would put in sweet if you could afford it, and hence the butter tart. Do you like the butter tart with the raisin in it?
I don't like butter tarts. I don't have the sweet tooth,
you don't
right?
have the
I'm not
sweet
the guy.
Okay, I'll like it
for
for you.
You like it for me, yeah.
I love it, in other words. For our international listeners, a butter tart is a Canadian dessert. We'll talk about that on a butter tart episode.
Okay, let me just write that in.
We just push things aside, and we haven't gotten
Which is not the worst thing. We have a limited time every week, but the key is remembering these things we've said. So my book is not with me, but
it's okay.
Let's write
we'll
down.
Put it down. Oh, I can't believe I got that wrong.
abject failure. Is
Yeah,
what
I
I'll
went to
describe
an
that.
Indian buffet, and I hate buffets, right?
I do know that about
And Amanda's like, we were in Mississauga, Brampton, and I'm like, we're starving. She's like, let's go to the Wendy's. And I'm like, oh, look at this Indian restaurant. It was a huge restaurant, and I think it was an old fish house because there was a lighthouse.
Yeah.
And everything had been
No one's
painted
gonna
over.
change that.
And,
No one's gonna
and there's
change
like a
that.
lighthouse, and all the windows look like ship windows. And I'm like, it's not really Indian themed.
Those are-
but they painted it.
It's very funny. I've just seen the exact same thing in Montreal. Yeah.
So it's like, okay, clearly a restaurant failed and this Indian buffet went in.
Yeah.
And Amanda's like, you hate buffets, so go look at it and see if it's something you want. And I went in there and I was like, we're eating here because it doesn't seem like a buffet, but rather it seems well thought out. And it was a buffet, but it was like, it just looked so beautiful inside.
Yeah.
Right? Despite the maritime theme on the outside, the inside was great. And then I was eating all this wonderful Indian cuisine, and there was some stuff that I didn't know what to do.
Yeah.
Because it was like there was sauce beside it, there was some hot pepper beside it, there was pickle. And I'm like, how do I combine this? What do I do? And how do I not look like an idiot,
What
right?
you do is you take Ali Hassan
That's what I said.
with you. You need a
and
guide.
I said,
You need a guide. Yeah.
I need Ali to walk me through. And then it was like, where do I start? Because they had like these Indian or Pakistani, little bits and bites type thing.
Sure.
They had like all these crackery type
Yeah.
things. And I was like,
Those are great little snacks,
yeah,
fried
and
snacks.
Do I eat that first? Do I eat it second? Do I put it on top of what I'm about to eat? Like I was like, I was.
You want to do it right. You want to do it justice. You
Yeah.
want to have the best combination of flavors. A lot of pressure.
And I don't want to look like an idiot like everyone else in there. I want to know what I'm doing. So can we do that in the new year?
Yeah, and then we talk about it.
Yeah.
We'll come back here and talk about it. And I think you were right to say one thing when I put this biryani in your mouth. This is something I would eat. I totally. You've probably had it at an Indian buffet. You know, it's there. It's ever present.
I would order that in a restaurant
Yeah.
off a menu. Like
Sure.
that's one of the dishes I would
accompanied by a yogurt raita and some fresh onions and chilies. It's a great dish.
I'm
Great
not
dish.
making an excuse, but I think the fact that I ate panettone and I had mulled wine that had those flavors made it difficult for me to.
Maybe that's very possible. That's right, because I can smell this, and you're like, I can't smell
I can't smell
anything.
anything.
I know.
I've been bruleeing.
You basically had
wine
cinnamon
for-
sticks
yeah.
up your nose for an hour. Bruleeing wine, exactly. Your nostrils are bruleed. And I apologize for something earlier. You said vin. You said vin chaud, and I go, it's vin chaud. But it's actually vin chaud.
Oh, chaud.
Feminine.
Okay.
I forgot.
Right.
Yeah.
Vin. See, I look at it with vin. I pronounce it in the Italian.
Yeah, vin, exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
which is
Vin,
wrong.
yeah.
Which was
Yeah.
clearly wrong when you're speaking French.
El vino did flow today.
All right, folks. Thank you for listening. Please rate our podcast and join us next time on Eat and Drink.
We'll see you again soon. Until we eat again.
Yeah.
We hope you got your fill of Eat and Drink with Ali Hassan and Marco Timpano. Follow them on Instagram and Twitter at Podcast Eat Drink. Email them your cocktail and food suggestions to podcasteatdrink@gmail.com. Until the next episode, bottoms up.